the last few weeks. And we're being recorded over the last few weeks. And a lot of you were with us 2 weeks ago when we had featured Yusef Seevers talking about Black theater. It's a series in 2 parts. Hi, Dave and Rosemary. And we had a great, exciting chat last time, a great event. I'm so glad to see so many of you back and even more. And don't worry, if you weren't here for part 1, you can jump right in on part 2. And we'll also include in the follow-up email tonight the recording of part 1, if you'd like to see that. I want to go through a few Zoom tools with you just to refresh your memory or to help you if it's feeling a little bit challenging. I know most of you are becoming pros at this, but if you look up on your right-hand corner, if you're on a computer, you'll see either speaker view or gallery view, and it shows you the thing that you're not in. So if you click on speaker view, you see the person who's talking, who right now is me. And if you click on, now that little square has turned into multiple squares, and you click on that and you're back into gallery view where you can see everyone. So if you can give us the American sign for applause, and we can see everybody here. And I love this because then we start to feel the energy in the room. Is awesome. Also, you should see in your square an icon of a microphone. Oh, thanks, Luke Myers. So glad that you're here, and thanks for that. Your microphone should be red because for this event, it's going to be, for most of it, you're going to be muted, and then we'll ask you at the end to unmute yourself to join the conversation at the end. So I'm seeing lots of red microphones, so that's great. And Lisa Nelson, yours is not red. So go ahead. I see lots of red. Lisa's red, so let's all applaud. That's awesome. Yay, we're glad to see that. Hi, Jackie Vanderbeck. I'm so glad to see you. I'm so glad to see all of you. Let's see, something else I want to tell you about. Oh yes, the chat feature. So if you look down at the bottom of your screen, if you're on a computer, you'll see chat, and you can click on that. People are already putting in comments. Yusuf's going to be asking you questions, and you'll type right there in the chat section, and he will be monitoring that, and I'll be backing him up on that. So that we'll be in conversation with you through the chat. I want to introduce Kelly, who Kelly's our room manager. So glad you're here, Kelly, helping us out. And let's see, I think that's all I need to tell you. We're going to learn a little bit fancier tricks later on in the event. But let me tell you a little bit. Let's get to the good stuff, okay? I'm going to tell you about Yusef, for those of you who do not know. For PCPA audiences know him as Shakespeare in Shakespeare in Love, for which he won a Broadway World Award, which should be, I may use in voice and speech as an articulation exercise. He played Algernon Moncrief in The Importance of Being Earnest, where he played my nephew and I played his aunt. And most recently, he played the brightest, reddest character on stage with one of the best voices you will hear anywhere when he played Sebastian the Crab in The Little Mermaid. Yusef has played exciting and varied roles at other theaters, including Tybalt in Romeo and Juliet, as well as Sir Toby Belch in Twelfth Night, Orestes in Electra, and Audrey II in The Little Shop of Horrors. He's an actor, a singer, a dancer, a choreographer, a director, as well as many other things beyond the scope of theater. He teaches voice and speech, as well as movement, in the PCPA's Acting Conservatory. He is a sparkling force of nature, and he is my colleague and my friend, and he is the one and only Yusef Seevers. Hi, Yusef. What can we expect tonight? Yay, we're all applauding for you. What can you expect, we can expect tonight, and what do you hope that we'll take away with us?
Thank you so much for that wonderful, wonderful intro, Kitty. I really appreciate it. And I want to thank all of you for spending your evening with us. It's really neat, Go ahead, Kitty.
I'm going to interrupt you. I'm so sorry. I led us through Zoom, but let's go back to speaker view right now so we can all really be focused on Yusuf and what he's presenting. Thanks. Go ahead, Yusuf.
So my welcome everybody and good evening. And I really am glad that you all are here and really spending some time to listen and learn what Black theater experience is telling us and what it is helping us to learn about ourselves. This evening, I'm really inviting us to hear more of what is being experienced rather than the entertainment portion that often comes with theatrics, but really understand the historical prominence within these pieces and to what our playwrights are pointing to and what they are giving us clues about in relationship to ourselves. And so, if we are able to dig into customs and norms to understand Shakespeare and wars and commas and collars, purposes, what they served in those time periods, I think that we also ought to be able to do. There's 8:05 now. We ought to be able to do the same, if not more, investigation into our own culture and what has given us the ground on which we stand. And so, my goal with this part two is really to encourage and empower you to be bold and courageous about advocacy, not just allyship, but to really distinguish the difference. An ally is I am with you, and an advocate has their body on the field, the cleats on and their pads on their shoulder, ready to be in the game and in the mud with you. And so, really being able to tune yourself to hear things differently so that you know when to step in to be an advocate and you know when to put the gas on events and conversations that can be really fruitful for not only just for you, but for your community and those you surround yourself with. And so, the first question, as I asked last class, that I would love to ask you all and hear from you is, why are you here? And go ahead and drop that in the chat. And feel free to be as candid as you desire. This is a community space that's really about safety and really about our ability to be as human as we possibly can be. And I know sometimes with sensitive issues like this, it can become very quickly can become a contest of who can say the right thing about what, right? Or who can say the thing that will offend no one the quickest. And that's not really what I'm about, because words that aren't backed by belief or faith really do no one any service. And so it's about establishing that fundamental understanding of where we come from and how subtle those things are. They're not always overt crazy events, there really can be subtleties in how you talk about who's in this production or what production you're going to see or why you're coming to see this production. You know what I mean? Are you just coming because it's fun and it's entertaining, or are you coming to listen and find more clarity about what these stories tell us and what information they give us? And I'll give a few moments just to let those things come in. And I really encourage you all to be specific and don't be afraid to say, because my friend told me to come, or because I work for this school and they had an event and I'm coming, or because I saw it on Facebook and my friend tagged me in it and I had to come because it was public and everybody saw it. Like, I don't really care what brought you here, but it's the value of you being here and you identifying what you're here for that I'm really interested in. Beautiful. Very little to find clarity, listen, support. Yes. Learn and listen. Better advocate. Yes. Powerful class. Wonderful. Eager. Yes. That's a wonderful, wonderful thing to hone in on. Learn more. Celebration. A rare yet important learning opportunity. That's beautiful. Future educators. Yes. Very important to understand about how to see things from different perspectives, locate blind spots. Beautiful. Wonderful. These are all really, really crucial things for you to identify, because they can very easily be looped into something that is popular and something that is trendy if you don't take the time to identify your actual purposes for being here. So what I'm going to talk about tonight is very specific and geared to help you tune to the point of Black theater. It is not merely good songs and entertainment, but it is a reflection of life in this country to some degree. And tonight, our historical work will mainly talk about and listen is about the Jim Crow era. and the area and the ways in which this is manifested in housing and jobs, education environments, and also social and cultural norms. I'm just going to popcorn around all of those because they really introduce the varying other names that subtleties of oppression can go under. And so, second question for the night. This is going to be interactive in case anybody didn't tell you. Does anybody know what Jim Crow is? If you do, say yes or no in the chat. A couple of you are sending me messages privately. I want everybody to see those. Go ahead and click everyone. Yes, there we go. Uh-huh. Beautiful. And so, in a broad stroke, Jim Crow is really a set of standards and cultural norms that are designed to establish a set of values to elevate, separate, and only regard those of a Caucasian lineage. And so, it's really important that there were federally backed policies and really state-supported institutions that made sure that these laws were functional and that they were sustained on a civic level. Things like these, like Jim Crow, were inflamed by histories like the Three-Fifths Compromise. Does anyone know what the Three-Fifths Compromise is? Shake your head yes or no if you don't. Beautiful. So in 1787, there was a congressional convention that discussed the rate and level that we would count our slaves. The North wanted them counted as free people for taxes, but did not want them counted for population because it would give Southern states more representation in Congress. And the South desired the opposite. They wanted them counted for population because they would outnumber the North in representation, but they did not want their slaves to be counted for taxes so that they could keep their money. And so what they decided would be mutually beneficial for both people is that slaves would be counted as 3/5 of a person. And so it really became something that was systemically ingrained, proportionate to value of money and property. That's what's really important to hear. And so anytime that there is money or property involved when it comes to issues of marginalized individuals, we are working from a legacy of not valuing those things the way that they should be and not really understanding that humanity comes before property and humans come before property, but really shifting our perspective to not see dollars more valuable than experience. So that's a little bit about the Three-Fifths Compromise that really supported the beliefs of Jim Crow.
And barbarous treatment of our fellow creatures and will not suffer us.
Could you mute yourself, please?
My bad.
It's all good, man. And so I know these areas that I'm going to talk about in housing, educational, and social cultural norms can seem a little off course, but I assure you that these things are really in place to make these oppressions something not as direct. And part of the gift that I really hope we all leave here is enough encouragement and courage to not be subtle when we are counteracting these things. We cannot afford to protect image, and we cannot afford to allow these subtleties to just slip past because they are quick and we're not quite sure. If it makes that thing in your gut go, I highly suggest you have a conversation. Hi, Kat. I highly suggest you have a conversation about it and really look to your peers and your colleagues about how to further that conversation in your own community. So that when your neighbors say it's not because they're of color, it's because our property value is at stake, you can actually look at that person and say, you know, but that value on property was built from a separation of color. And so your understanding of what devalues your property is built on a racist premise. And you can say that with authority and power and not feel like you're doing anything other than stating the truth with authority and power. And so it really is important for us to not argue for our limitations or our stability, because it cannot be a fight for tradition and a fight for evolution at the same time, because our traditions are built on the blood and backs of those who our evolution depends on. And so it really is important for us to just shift the camera and shift the perspective in those ways, understanding the depth of where we come from. And so what I'm going to talk about now, a question I have for everyone, is what do you think the definition of a ghetto is? And do not say what you think is right. Say what first comes to your mind. What is the definition of a ghetto? Not an answer that you will feel safe, not an answer that will protect you from other people's opinions, but the first thing that truly pops into your mind. Run down, poor, area of lack, impoverished, low income. Yes. Poor, poor, poor. Absolutely. Absolutely. And so what I'm going to read to you now, there was a housing policy in San Francisco around 39th Avenue that really was started and supported by this guy named Henry Dolger. His building foundation was one of the first suburbs in San Francisco. It's Westlake suburb. And he wrote in some of his housing policy very clear language that I want you to feel in just how overt we must be in counteracting these things. The section I'm reading is about buying property, about owning property, and leasing property. I'm going to read a little bit of the housing language so you get some context, and then I'm going to read the undersections that really describe the clarity of how bold we must be. And so in San Mateo County in state of California describes the follow to wit, being desirous of making and maintaining said property as desirable residential neighborhood does in consideration of that object and all of its mutual promises, covenants agree that for the term beginning on the date hereafter and ending January 1st, 1975, at which time this shall be automatically extended for 10-year periods in succession until voted by a majority to abandon said covenants, which happened not before 1975, but this is when they laid it out until. But the real property above described or any portion thereof shall never be occupied, used, or resided on by any person not of the white or Caucasian race, except in the capacity of a servant or domestic employed thereon, such as by a white Caucasian owner, tenant, or occupant. That's how clear this language of separation has been. And this is also how clear we must be in order to counteract these habits and in order to counteract this mindset. We cannot afford to be subtle. That's the thing that after you leave here, I really want to ring in your head, that you cannot afford to be subtle, because in the subtlety, we kill the momentum. We kill the momentum and we are not able to gain traction because we are dancing around the tiny and the minute, and we're not really going straight in at the target. And so your first response to the word ghetto might be of that poor nature, but it's crucial to understand that before ghettos were populated by poor individuals, it was also housing that was not allocated to people of color. The ghetto was something that was used for people who were a part of armed forces. It became a piece of federal housing that was used. And so then what happened was, once they started building these internal policies of who was able to own land and who was able to buy land and to what capacity they were able to do that, then they decided that the ghettos would be more properly allocated to those of color. And so they built transit systems, they built subway systems, and they built all sorts of things that racially segregated cities. This happened in Richmond, Virginia, California, all over the country, that really serves to eradicate people of color and ethnic groups of color. And so this explicit language, for me, it's charging because it makes it clear that, like, in order to retroactively come at these things, we've got to be just as clear. And so we are needing to build this world where we are interactively dependent upon one another and dynamically adding value and in relationship with one another. That's the world that we are trying to imagine, you know? And in order to understand how long and how subversive these things are, we got to go back to these painful moments in time. So the origin of Jim Crow really was this guy, this white man named Thomas Daddy Rice, was a white minstrel who went to this plantation owner who had the last name of Crow, and he saw a slave doing something of a jumping nature. I'm assuming probably was a dance of some sort. And this white minstrel took that act and made it into something of a favorable image for white audiences. And Jim Crow came from Jumpin' Jim Crow, because these movements were of a jumping nature, and it became a popular sensation, again, because of its entertainment value. And so I highlight that because entertainment value is also not a good enough excuse to excuse devaluing of anybody. And so now we have to start to tilt our scales about what's more important. Is it important that we are entertaining, or is it important that we are progressing a story and a lineage that we would like to see in 15 years? Right? Where do we want to put the value? And so in educational systems, these things showed up in textbooks, they showed up in restrooms, and that still shows up in textbooks. That may have been a Jim Crow initiated thing, but that really continues to be, I remember even up until my high school age, like knowing that there were schools that would not include the history of slavery into their textbooks because of our removal from that context, because the closer you hold it, the more responsibility you are for changing it. And so we have to understand that, like, keep these things close so that they can empower you to act in those split-second moments when you have a conversation and something or someone makes that uncomfortable not happen in your stomach. And things like the school to prison pipeline system. This is a system that is very, very well known, very implicated, and very duplicable in our American culture. And our school to prison pipeline is really apparent if you look up the new Jim Crow. I'll repeat that again. Look up the new Jim Crow, and also The Color of Law. Those are two books that really talk about housing, school to prison pipelines, and customs that are often disregarded because they make us uncomfortable and they make us look at a piece of ourselves that doesn't feel like it's ourselves. You know, it doesn't feel like who we are right now. And it's important to look at both of these things, and in our powerful now, understand that we have to make different decisions. And so the next thing I'm going to play for you, I'm going to play a little sound clip from two individuals that are of the Southern origin that talk about Jim Crow and talk about their perspective of Jim Crow.
Oh, there's Mama Dancer.
And as we listen to this, I encourage you all to just to look away from the screen for a little bit, because I know Zoom calls that we've all been on can be kind of numbing to a certain extent, but just look away and close your eyes and listen to the stories of these individuals and allow them to wash over you in a certain respect. And if you find yourself reacting or responding to the content, put the words that caused you to respond into the chat, or write them down on a piece of paper and then put them in a chat. Because it's catching those moments, you know, and revisiting those moments that allow you to amplify how powerful they really are when you feel that knot. But if you brush over it, if you feel it and pretend like it never happened, you lose the powerful now in which you can correct it. And you lose the powerful moment that you can speak to another because you brush over those bumpy moments. Okay? So let me share my sound. And again, I encourage you all to look away from the computer. There will be you'll just see all the cameras here. And
in the bayous of South Louisiana, Jim Crow was rooted in sugarcane fields and rice farms. A plantation aristocracy ruled there until the 1960s. Blacks in the region recall harsh times. As for the whites, anthropologist Kate Ellis spent a year in Iberia Parish and found that they remember the Jim Crow past in a very different way.
Most of the older whites I spoke to remember growing up in a culture where there was simply no question. Blacks were inferior and treated as such. Others remember segregation as a more benign arrangement.
All the black people who lived in a small town like this, everybody knew everybody else.
Right.
Except we didn't know the colored people that well. I think they all knew the white people.
Really?
And they looked up to the white people, I tell you.
They did.
Because they knew that's where their bread was buttered. You know, the white people helped them, gave them work and everything.
This tape is with Mary Laveau. She asked me not to use her real name. Mary's lived her entire 91 years in Iberia Parish and belongs to one of the old plantation families. She doesn't remember blacks resenting the rules of Jim Crow. For example, she says blacks chose to sit in the back of the bus.
It was just part of their life. They understood that, it looks like. I don't think that the white people just were cruel to them and made them do that.
Yeah.
But they just felt that that was part of them.
So it wasn't something that white people were doing to...
The white people, I think, were good to them.
Mary was raised by a black nanny and surrounded by black tenants on her family's plantation. She says the black people who worked for her family were poor but happy.
And they had a little church back there, and they would sing the most beautiful gospel music, sing, you know. They had beautiful voices, some of them they'd sing, and sometimes we'd go there at night and park about a block away just to listen. They just had that rhythm.
So it was kind of joyous, the music.
Oh yeah, they'd play the music and dance, and their way of life, I think they were happier than the white people because nothing worried them, you know. Some white people, they were worried of sometimes about losing their land or trying to make things go, you know, they were the leaders. But the black people, nothing bothered them.
So that's clip number one. What do you hear? Let the chat fire off, and like, what are the things that you hear? Now, this is a normal lady. She doesn't sound like she, you know, has fire coming out of her ears, but it sounds like a normal in which she is comfortable. And it's really understanding that in that comfort is our risk. In that comfort and our not active moving forward in clear ways, it becomes something that is so passé and something that we inadvertently fight for because we do not stand in opposition to it, you know? And if you do not act against it, you must be for it in some way. And so it really encourages us to know that it's not always people with burning crosses and pitchforks and hoodies and guns and tear gas. Sometimes it's people who considered comfort more than they did equality. People who considered tradition more than they did equality. And these types of things are the cover-ups of this type of oppression. Because the white people were leaders, they had more to worry about. But how did you get to be leaders? And of whom were you leading? You know, and if you did not know the colored people that well, how could you speak to the depth of their experience? Question mark, one might ask oneself. Yeah? Beautiful. Yes, these comments are lovely, lovely, lovely. I'm going to play one more sound clip for you, and this one might be a little bit tougher to hear, but I believe that you'll make it.
New Iberia lies deep in South Louisiana's bayou country, where the night is filled with sounds from the swamps. It's a small town, just 35,000 people. About a third of them are black. This part of the state is called the Sugar Bowl because sugar cane is the primary crop. On the main street, you can still find some of the antebellum homes that belonged to the plantation gentry, complete with white columns and towering oaks. Some of the homes belong to the great-grandchildren of the plantation owners.
Well, my name is Barra, Leonard Barra Jr., and my connection with New Iberia is I was born here in 1917 on East Main Street. That was very segregated, without a doubt. From the time I grew up, they had white folks and black folks, and basically black folks worked for the white folks. They sort of lived in their part of town, and we lived in our part of town.
And why was it that way?
It's, I guess if you didn't grow up here, it would be difficult really to understand that it was two separate worlds, you know. You just didn't become part of their world. You didn't go into their houses. They worked in your house, but it was just the way it was. It had always been that way.
Leonard Barrow is a retired fighter pilot who returned to New Iberia after a long military career. He comes from a planter family that always had close contact with blacks, first as slave owners, then as employers, always as superiors.
God, there was a fellow worked for my father for a number of years in the rice field, and we ran into each other one day, and boy, he came and threw his arms around me, you know. Now, this is another funny thing. He wouldn't have dreamed of shaking hands back in those days.
The black man that you ran into, or your father?
My father or me would not have dreamed of shaking hands with a black person.
Some whites that I talk to say blacks were never treated poorly during Jim Crow. They were always treated well. They had their place and we had ours, but they were always treated well. I'm wondering how you see that. If
Well,
you would agree with that.
being treated well, I guess, has a pretty broad spectrum of the blacks definitely lived at a much lower standard, much lower. Many of the houses didn't have running water. Many of the houses didn't have electricity. Heat was rudimentary. Of course, nobody had air conditioning.
Do you remember any whites openly questioning the way things were?
Certainly not. Oh, heavens no. Why? Why would they have questioned it? I mean, this is the way it was. You grew up, you know, it's kind of like I'm a Catholic because my parents were Catholics. I never questioned why. That's the way it was.
What about blacks? Do you remember blacks ever
Raising the question?
Yes.
No. No. They knew their place.
I want to invite everyone to take a nice deep breath. Yes. That weird feeling that you feel of now what do I do with all this energy that's created in my body is appropriate. And this is a lovely opportunity to take a slight pivot and start transitioning to the second part of our program this evening. Because all of this is geared towards hearing this within the context of our profession, which is theater. And so how do we hear these same concepts in the context of a play? And how do we recognize them and still tune to them without them falling under the blanket of entertainment and amusement? So this next portion, I'm so blessed to have some of my favorite people in the world share the Zoom stage with me this evening. If you know how to hide non-video participants, you are welcome to take yourself through those features. If you don't know, I'm going to very briefly walk you through that, and then we're going to see some scenes. And I want you to listen to these scenes with the same comb that you listened to those last couple sound bites. Great. So if you're on your computer, in the lower left-hand corner, there's a button that says Stop Video. Next to that button is a little upward triangle. If you click that, there should be a task menu that pops up that says FaceTime, choose virtual background, or video settings. Click video settings, and there'll be another box that'll pop up. And under meetings, you'll see a checkable box that says hide non-video participants. Click that box. And then you can exit out of that pop-up box and the rest of the people should go away. And then once you do, go ahead and come back and click stop video. And Ryan, you can stay. Yeah, you stay. Yep, go ahead and stop your camera. Liz, can you stop your camera for me? And Santa Maria Department 4. Jenny, you too. Chris and Tia, please. Yeah. Lovely. So this first scene that we're going to see, and again, this is, again, to be listening with that tuning ear that we've just been tuning. This first scene is from a play called Top Dog, Underdog by Susan Laurie Parks. And this is my good friend and grad classmate alum. Ryan, can you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hey everyone, I'm Ryan Woods. What's going on?
Where are you coming from, Ryan?
Broadcasting from Fresno, California.
Ryan is a wonderful individual, and you'll see a bunch of us this evening that are people of color, that are working professionals, and also all have master's degrees. And so you're kind of seeing the cream of the crop in reflection or in relation to our social norms of what we consider to be the cream of the crop. So this first scene is a clipping from Top Dog Underdog. Ryan will be playing Lincoln, and I will be playing Booth. Whenever you're ready, Ryan.
All he had was a 20. So I took the 20 and I told him to meet me on the bus tomorrow, and Honest Abe would bring him his change.
Shit.
Shit is right.
What'd you do with the 20?
Bought drinks at Lucky's. Bought a round for everybody. Yeah, they got a kick out of the ghetto.
You should have called me down.
Next time, bro. You making bookshelves? With the milk crates, you making bookshelves?
Yeah, big bro, I'm making bookshelves.
What's the cardboard part for?
Versatility.
Oh.
I was thinking, we don't got no bookshelves. We don't got no dining room table. So I'm making a sort of modular unit. You can put the books in the bottom and the table on top. We can eat and store our books. We could put the photo album in there. Here, you sit there, I sit on the edge of the bed, gathered around the dinner table like old times, man.
We just got to get some books first, but that's great, Booth. That's real great.
Don't be calling me Booth no more, okay?
You changing your name?
Maybe.
What to?
I'm not ready to reveal it yet.
You haven't decided on anything yet?
Maybe.
You gonna call yourself something African? Yeah, that'd be cool, man. Of course, make sure you pick something that you can spell and pronounce, man, because some of them African names, I mean, okay, I'm down with the power to the people thing, but you know, no one's gonna hire you if they can't say your name. And some of them fellas who got their African names, no one can say their names and they can't say their names neither. I mean, you don't want your new handle to block your employment opportunities.
You bring dinner?
Shango would be a good name. Name of the Thunder God? If you ain't decided already, I'm just throwing it in the pot. I brought Chinese.
Let's try the table out.
Cool. I buy it, you set it up. That's the deal. That's the deal, right?
You like this place?
It's all right.
But a little cramped sometimes, right?
You don't hear me complaining. Although that recliner, man, Booth, I mean, man, I'm too old to be sleeping in that chair.
It's my place. You don't got a place. Cookie, she threw you out. And you can't seem to get another woman. You lucky I let you stay.
Every Friday, you say, mi casa es su casa.
Every Friday, you come home with your paycheck. Today is Thursday, and I tell you, brother, it's a long way from Friday to Friday. All kinds of things can happen. All kinds of bad feelings can surface and erupt while your little brother waits for you to bring in your share. I got my Thursday head on Link. Go get the food.
You don't got no running water in here, man.
So?
You don't got no toilet. You don't got no sink.
Bathrooms down the hall.
You living in the third world, fool. Hey, I'll get the food.
Beautiful and scene. So as you all hear this scene, what are lines from the text that jump out to you in relationship to the topics that we were just talking about? And Ryan, thank you so much. And I'd love to now have Tia and Chris hop on here and say hey to the people. Hello, lovelies. Oh, no, hold on, Jenny, not yet. I love the pause. Appreciate it.
Hey,
Lovely.
people.
So, can you both introduce yourselves?
Yes. Hi, I am Chris Sanders, pronouns they, she. I went to grad school at SMU with Tia, Ryan, and Yusef. Lived with all three of them at some point. Also got my BA at Kean University in New Jersey, where I'm originally from. I am now an equity actor with Actors Equity Association. I also teach at the University of Texas at Dallas in Richardson. And luckily I've been blessed to be able to teach online. And I'm so excited to be here with you all.
Beautiful. And Tia, can you introduce yourself and tell us where you're tuning in from?
Yes, I am Tia LaLusa. Hello, all. Chris already told you the most interesting things about myself, which is that I know these people and I lived with all of them. I am in Los Angeles right now, so I'm kind of close to Yusuf, kind of close to Ryan. Just moved out of the house that Chris is in right now, so yeah.
I'm in y'all's room.
Beautiful.
What?
Beautiful, beautiful. So I'm going to get rid of my camera, and this next scene that they're going to read is from Venus by Susan Laurie Parks. And again, I want you to hear this scene and see if you can catch words, text, sentences that make you feel the same way as that's just the way it was, or they knew their place, or. Okay? And whenever you two are ready.
Don't steal from me, girl. You'll go to hell for it.
Hell?
Christian talk. Fire and brimstone and Satan himself. It's very hot.
Oh,
Put the money back.
you pay us each 5 coins a week. We're all paid equal, but we don't draw equal.
It's past your bedtime, daughter.
I'm the one they come to see. I'm the main attraction. Your other freaks are second fiddles.
Oh boy. A diva.
I should get 50 a week. Plus better food, a lock on my door, and a new dress now and then.
You should get some sleep, girl. I wake you up early and you never like it.
50 a week, good food, locked door, new clothes, say it's a deal.
Go to hell.
40 then. The clothes and my own room, forget the food.
Nothing doing, lovely.
30.
Nope.
I'm leaving then.
Where to?
Home.
But you're not yet rich and famous.
I'm not.
You're a little known in certain circles, but you haven't made your fortune. Go back home and folks will laugh. Ha ha. 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 Stay.
No. I'll set up shop and show myself. Be my own boss. Make my own mint.
You'd walk out on your mother?
My time with you is spent. 2 years' work. Half the take for take-home pay. I'm due at least 1,000 coins. That was the deal.
That deal you didn't make with me, love. You made a bargain with a man I've never met. For all I know, you've made him up. Yeah, you're lying and trying to swindle your poor mother out of her retirement.
2 years' work, half the take. Him and me were agreed. Hand it over.
Nothing doing.
I'm out of here. I'll make my own mark. I'm all decided.
I'm all decided? Ooh la la. Could it be I've been showing you all wrong. Christ, I thought your name was Venus, but Lord of mercy, you're the queen of fucking Sheba.
Hand it over.
Nope, go to bed.
I want what's mine.
They don't let your kind run loose in the streets, let alone set up their own shops.
Gimme.
You could be arrested. You need mother's protection.
Gimme.
Don't push me, sweetie. Next door's a smoky pub full of drunken men. I just might invite them in one at a time and let them fuck your brains out.
They already do.
Well, it's the same for all of us, love. I love you like a daughter. We're family now. If you go off, we'd miss you. And besides, we may go under.
They come in drunken when you're sleeping. I want to go. Please.
Home?
No, not home.
Where to, then?
Anywhere.
Sad to say, girl, but you can't. And it's the same for all of us. The law wants to shut us down. We create too many disturbances, so we gotta move about. Hopping, town to town, a whirlwind tour, 100 cities in as many nights. I've planned it all out. It looks like fun. You'll see the world.
No.
Relax. Relax. It's going to be fantastic.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. And we have one more scene left. If I could have my boo Portia come on here. Oh my goodness, I love her so much. Portia and I went to undergrad together in 2010 in New Mexico. I know, child. I know. But she's been one of my longest and closest friends, and she attended her master's at UW. And Portia, introduce yourself, tell them where you are. And yes, please, everybody, let the words that made that chord strike in you keep flying in the comments, please. Don't let them pass you by, because that's what we're here to tune to. All right, go ahead, Portia.
Yes, tune. I feel like you already did it. So I'm Portia. I'm originally from Texas, the Houston area. I went to undergrad in Santa Fe in the middle of nowhere and bumped into beautiful Yusef. And and then I went to go get my master's at the University of Washington, and that's where I'm talking to you guys from today, Seattle, Washington. And I'm so happy to be here to support and experience.
Beautiful. I'm so glad you're here. I'm fanning out so hard, y'all, because these are some of my favorite friends ever. And we're all of BIPOC origins. And so it's really crucial to know that A, we exist, B, we're professional, and we also are representative of such a broad scale of individuals that need this kind of storytelling in limelight. So this next scene we're going to read is from a play called Pipeline by Dominique Morceau, and I will be playing the character of Omari, and Portia will be playing the character of Jasmine. And this play is really all about the school to prison pipeline that I was speaking to you all earlier about. Is there anything else I'm missing? I don't think so. So relax.
Nervous.
I know, right?
Ready?
Uh-huh.
Tell me you wasn't looking at her.
I wasn't looking at her.
Ought to cut her face.
I wasn't looking at her.
Thinking she's so cute.
I wasn't looking at her.
She ain't that cute.
I was kind of looking at her.
What?
Just like a little bit.
What's a little bit?
Like modestly, with no intention, just observing.
What you got to be observing for?
To take in my surroundings, learn the world, not just be tied up in my own existence and nothing else.
Everything's more important to you than me.
You important to me.
Not hardly. You just biding your time till you figure out what to do next. Ain't that it?
Why would you say that?
Cause I don't like to talk at nothing. I like to say exactly what's what.
You want to know what's what?
Yeah, I want to know.
I don't know where I'm going to be in 2 days from now or 2 hours. And I can't be pretending we in some fairy tale fantasy where all I need to do is chill with you in a castle with our horses or whatever.
Horses?
Or whatever. I don't know. Whatever they got in castles. Truth is, I got too many worries. And being with you don't make them go away. You feel me?
You say I'm adding to your stress level?
I'm saying I got stresses, real ones. And hiding out in your dorm ain't doing nothing but prolonging the inevitable.
This some whack version of a breakup?
It's just me being honest.
Well, fuck your honesty. Seriously, Amari, you gonna make my heart explode with all your back and forthness. One minute you telling me I'm the cure, next minute I'm the cause. Maybe you your own stress problem and I ain't got nothing to do with it.
Maybe I am.
Fuck you.
Maybe I'm confused.
That's the realest shit you ever said.
Yo, this could be our last time.
You kidding me right now?
I'm just seeking intimacy.
You seeking to get socked in the eye. I don't turn on and off like no stove.
You mean a faucet?
I mean a stove. One minute you got me hot, next minute fire's out. Quit gassing me up and killing my fucking spark.
Can't nothing kill your spark. You always gonna be fire.
And you always gonna be crazy.
I'm scared.
Why you fight him on?
Why you say you gonna cut Keely's face?
She thinks she cute.
So you wanna mess that up?
Maybe it will make things balance.
Like what?
Like she wear on the outside what I feel on the inside.
That's messed up.
So I messed up. Your mom knows?
She probably already planning her speech. Threatening to send me to my pops. But dude won't go for that in a million years.
You ain't even supposed to be here right now. If anybody finds us...
Where else can we meet? They won't let me talk to you anywhere on the campus. I'm supposed to be packing my stuff to go home. Ain't like I could visit you at your folks' cribs. They won't let me nowhere near you.
Oh, teen pregnancy stats got them spooked. They have no idea who or what I am.
I know what you are.
You don't even know yourself. How you know me?
I know you.
What you know?
You're a metamorphic rock.
Here you go.
What?
Science references from Mr. Peterson's class ain't gonna save you from my wrath.
Not trying to get saved, just making an observation.
Explain.
Metamorphic rock. They change in form, made from heat and pressure. That's what makes them so rare and interesting.
And that's me?
That's you.
I think I'm in love with you.
I think I'm leaving.
Where you going?
Somewhere else. I got some money saved, child support stash from the old man. Shit's adds up when you don't spend it.
You just gonna run from your problems?
What else I'm gonna do? Stay and let them take my life away? My future?
Maybe not.
They recorded it.
So threaten anybody who put it up.
I'll never be able to trace it. If it goes viral, it's a wrap. And it's gonna go viral.
Fuck it then. You'll be a celebrity.
I'll be public enemy number one.
You won't.
I'll be a monster.
You'll be that motherfucker nobody will fuck with.
That ain't the legacy I was trying to leave.
What legacy you gonna leave now? Running away?
I just gotta go, Jasmine. And scene. Thank you so much. Everybody can feel free to turn your cameras back on. I'm going to wrap it up really quickly, and then Kitty's going to close us out with some information about what's coming up next. But this was just a tiny thank you. Yeah, you can give round of applause to our actors and things. They did wonderful. They're magical people. This was really just to help you begin practice tuning to what this feeling is like and what it means to act on the feeling, not act post-feeling or act without it, but to really match it with the passion that this movement requires from us. And so these are just 3 different plays that really exuded at a very, very high caliber. And these are high caliber people that could tell it very clearly. And I want to wrap it up with just this notion again to repeat. We cannot afford to be subtle. We really must be bold and courageous in our courage and our choices, including making people uncomfortable, including questioning those that have never been questioned. If you listen to that audio clip we listened to, a lot of the people said we just never questioned it. Not because they couldn't, it was not culturally accessible. It was not in the nature to question. But now we're inquisitive as it gets. So I really encourage you all to follow your nose, follow your bliss, and really let this path of exploration take you somewhere that you couldn't plan. So that's a wrap on my presentation for this evening, and I'll pass it off to Kitty for some wrapping up stuff. Thank you all so much for being here, and thank you to our actors for sharing your talent and your love. I really love you all so much, and I appreciate you being here. I'm gonna go through the comments as we wind down. Oh, lovely, lovely. Yes, Eric said he should have paid for it. Yes.
Absolutely.
And as we scroll through these chats, y'all, look at some of these words and things that started to jump out at other people so that you can get a tune for what our community is listening for. And Kitty, off to you.
Yes, Eric Greenman says you can still pay for it. It's true. If you guys want to put your Venmo in there in the chat, you just go right ahead. These actors have volunteered to join us tonight, and I'm just so incredibly thankful. I'm so moved actually by your work, and I gotta put myself together. We're going to take a minute to talk about the things that are coming up, because we got a lot of things coming up, but we're going to come back. You can take a breath. We're going to come back and open up chat for questions and answers. You can talk to Yusef, then you can also chat with our guest actors as well. So let me just share my screen just a second. Pull myself together. I got to tell you about tomorrow. You're going to want to Talk Back Thursday with Eric Stein. This is a fun, relaxed interview style show that happens almost every Thursday on Facebook Live at 3:30. From Broadway to national tours, from onstage and off, Eric interviews theater artists from across the country who have graced the hallways of PCPA. And this week, our guest is, I don't know if that's blocking you. There we go. This week, our guest is Kristen Stokes, and Kristen is the class of PCPA class of 2005. She originated the role of Annabeth in The Lightning Thief on Broadway, for which she has been nominated for a Drama Desk Award. And then next Thursday, Eric's going to interview alumni and founders of the YHT Theater Company, Brandon Jones Mooney, Ventre Scott, and Ivan Webster. And YHT stands for Young Hot Thespians, and their mission is to bring theater to places where it isn't usually common. Tune in to find out how perfect the name of this company is for these three amazing young men. You're going to want to hear them. They're so fantastic. The Rediscovery Reading Club is going to meet next Monday, August 31st, led by literary associate Emily Trask. And the club will be discussing Pedro Calderón de la Barca's Spanish Golden Age classic, Sueño, or Life is a Dream. This discussion group will feature PCPA actors bringing key scenes to life. And next Wednesday, right here the same time and channel, Wednesday, September 2nd at 6 p.m., we're going to feature the artistry of costume design, and you're going to get a glimpse inside the vivid imaginations of designers. Join resident designers Sarah Curran-Ice and Eddie L. Barrows as they guide us through the process of starting with a play and a sketchbook and ending with a whole new world of color, textures, and characters defined by the clothing they wear. The following Wednesday at 6 o'clock, we're going to be wrapping up this series of Community Enrichment Wednesdays with a party, and we hope you'll join us for the Interplay Preview Party. I'll be talking to Emily Trask and Mark Boer about the 6 fresh plays by diverse playwrights that we'll be featuring in our play reading series, Interplay. Now, I'm going to tell you that signature cocktails will be involved, and I hope that you will join us. We have many more enrichment events coming up for you. You can register and find out more info by visiting us at pcpa.org and clicking on PCPA Plays On. You don't have to worry about writing it down. Ooh, I went too fast. I'm going to send you a follow-up email tonight after we're done with all the links that you'll need. But I do have to take a moment to thank our summer sponsors. You know that we are not-for-profit theater, and we're dependent on all of our sponsors, and that includes I Hope You. For 57 years, PCPA has been contributing to the cultural literacy and quality of life here on the Central Coast. And although we can't be together, we'll continue this mission through our virtual programming as PCPA plays on. Please consider making a donation to PCPA Strong to ensure that PCPA continues for years to come. There we go. That is the end of our, let me start my video so you can see me. That's the end of our programmed, our scheduled programming for tonight. I always think that one of the best parts of going to the theater is when we open the theater doors and we all go into the lobby and we get to talk about what we just experienced. And so that's what we're doing now, and we call it lobby time. So I encourage you to stay. If you need to go, that's all right. You just go ahead and click on your red leave button, and I hope you'll join us next time. But if you're staying, you can unmute your microphones, and as they say in Where the Wild Things Are, let the wild rumpus begin.